So, good morning. My name is Rick White from 180 Biz. We're a coaching and training company for the independent auto repair and truck shops. And this is my just one thing. What are we going to talk about today? We're talking about risk today. And I think this is a really important thing to talk about. So, I came across this quote last week and I absolutely loved it. It simply states your success depends on the risks you take. Your survival depends on the risks you avoid. So, what do I mean by that? Do you know which risks to take and which ones to avoid? I think that's a really great question to ask today. So, first, let's understand what risk really means. Risk is exposure to uncertainty with potential for gain or loss. So think about that again. Exposure to uncertainty with potential for gain or loss. Now, think about that for a second. It really is a double-edged sword here, isn't it? It can either be a driver for growth or it could be a banana peel for the business. You really don't know which it's going to be, right? On the outside, once we start thinking risk, we immediately think it's a negative, but it's not. Risk can be a positive. Risk simply means uncertainty. So how do you know which to take? So there's two kinds of risk. See, this is where the science starts to make a difference. This is where being able to step back and think about things make a difference. And if this video is resonating with you, please share it, okay? We want to get as many people in front of this information as possible. So what do we have? We have two kinds of risks. You have calculated risk and you have careless risks. Calculated risks are proactive risks. This is where you step back and you do research and you look at facts and you forecast, and it's a calculated risk. You can see clear potential, right, that justifies the risk. So here's an example of this. An example of this might be, deciding to get an alignment rack and an alignment machine after you've stepped back and you've analyzed the positive impact that purchase is going to have. You've done the calculations. You realize it's going to save you this much time driving back and forth with cars to another shop. It's going to give you increased opportunities to find additional work that's needed. And you've actually done the math. Okay, so that's a calculated risk. A careless risk is based on impulse and emotions or ego or assumptions. You don't have any data, there's no contingency plan, and there's no clear reward. Let me give you an example. My dumbest thing I ever bought. You ready? And I'm going to date myself. You ready? Here we go. So back in 1986, Ford had a system out just before that called EEC3. It was a beaut, I'll tell you. It was very, very hard to work on. Nobody had equipment for it. It didn't plug into a regular, a scan tool or anything like that. So I got tired. I had two cars that I could not fix. And guess what happened? Rick gets on the phone for 3 hours calling OTC and everybody else around it until I finally got somebody that would sell me that piece of equipment. It was $5,000 back then. It was actually 3 pieces of equipment that allowed you to service that system. And I went and bought it. And guess what? After I bought it, I probably used it 3 times. See, this is where I allowed my ego to create careless risk. Okay? That is what is really the problem. So, again, if you can, share this video. I got 4 minutes left. I want to make sure I got everything covered here, okay? So let's talk about what these differences look like. So calculated risk is recognizing that people aren't spending money the way they were and saying, I need to have a plan for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out and I'm going to access financing options that are prime options for people with great credit and subprime options for people that have poor credit. I'm going to do that so there's very little risk on my part in order to be able to continue to help people and make sales. What's a careless risk? A careless risk is letting people pay you over time. How many can give me an amen on that one? Right? Who has done that and made that mistake? So I want you to think that through. How about having a marketing plan where you figure out what your message is, who your people are, and what your method is, and then putting a calendar and a budget together and then measuring it? That's calculated risk, whereas careless risk is just getting slow and spending money on ads. We call that reactive marketing, okay? Most expensive, least effective marketing you'll ever do. That's careless risk. How about putting together a plan for working with fleets, talking about the benefits and the things that they're going to get, helping them focus on the income they're going to continue to enjoy because their fleet is up and running, versus just giving very, very deep discounts in order to get some work without even realizing if it's profitable or not. So, what skill sets do you need for this? Number one, you got to be able to see the gains, the losses, and the probability of each, right? You got to understand what the financial part of it is. How is it going to affect cash flow? What does your return on investment look like? What does it do to your break-even issues? This is a real thing. And then you got to take a look at scenarios. What's the worst that could happen? And can you survive that scenario? You also got to look at your decisions. Every decision, and we've talked about this, is every decision you're making moving you closer to where you want to go, or is it taking you sideways or backwards? Okay, is it helping you achieve your goals? And then the last thing you got to have as far as skill set goes is you got to have some emotional control. You got to avoid letting FOMO, fear of missing out, or excitement, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so awesome. What is that going to do? Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 questions to ask, and then we'll get going. I'm just going to keep going, guys. Number 1, what's the best outcome? These are the 5 filters, right? These 5 questions are going to filter whether you have a calculated risk or a careless risk. Number 1, what's best outcome? Right? What's the best case scenario here? Number 2, what's the worst case scenario? Write these down. Think them through. Number 1, what's the best case scenario? Number 2, what's worst case scenario? Number 3, what's the most likely scenario? I mean, if we're real about it, a lot of times when we're looking at best case, it requires us to do stuff, if we're honest with each other, ain't going to happen. So what's the most likely? Now, 4th question, can I survive the worst case scenario? Can I survive the worst case scenario? That's number 4. And then number 5, does this move me closer to my vision, my destination? Okay? So there are the 5 questions, okay? I want you to put that checklist right on your desk. And the next time you're thinking about making a risky decision, run through those 5 questions, okay? Here's the thing. Success comes from taking the right risks, okay? Survival comes from avoiding the wrong ones. It's your job to be able to tell the difference and then act accordingly, okay? So before your next decision, guys, I just want you to run through your checklist and make sure you're chasing success and not flirting with failure. Everybody, thank you so much. I love you. Have a great week, and go make some money. See you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.